The Hyundai Santa Cruz isn't for everyone, but I'd still recommend it. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Robmotive MT. And that's right, the Hyundai Santa Cruz isn't for everyone, but I still would recommend it. You know, I'm out cruising around this morning. By the way, I just saw what is a rather elusive Toyota Tacoma here in the area I'm in. It was a TRD Pro in cement. Don't see a lot of Tacomas here, and only a handful of Hyundai Santa Cruzes so far. So, what am I talking about? I'd recommend the Santa Cruz, but it isn't for everyone. And there's a couple of reasons for that, I guess. You know, it is an awesome truck, and I do consider it a truck. It has a bed, it can tow, it can haul. To me, it meets the definition of a truck. It's not a truck though. So why wouldn't I recommend it? Well, number one, if you have kids, particularly kids that are maybe over 6-7 years old, there's not a ton of room in the back. It's really confined, I think. And that's because they kind of took away about, I think it's about 4 inches, something like that, from the Hyundai Santa Fe or the Tucson. I don't remember which one, the one that it's based on. So it kind of shrinks everything down a little bit back there and really cuts down on the knee room. The space between you and the seats in front of you can make it rather confining. Now, it's not bad if you're just taking short trips and things like that, maybe a ride to school or daycare or whatever. But if you're looking to use it on a cross-country trip and put people in the back, particularly adults, they're going to be kind of cramped back there, and it's not really going to be too comfortable for that. Now, I will say that's not really unlike a lot of the other mid-size trucks out there. You know, the Toyota Tacoma doesn't have a ton of room in the back either. I don't know that I'd want to sit in the back on a long-distance trip as an adult myself. I would prefer something bigger, probably a full-size truck. Next up is off-road prowess. You know, I keep seeing people talking about taking the Hyundai Santa Cruz off-road. And, you know, honestly, it's not really designed for off-roading. You know, it is all-wheel drive. It will kick in if you need it. But it's not like you can throw it into four-wheel drive and it's constantly on. I wouldn't take it through real rough terrain. Now, that's not to say that, you know, you couldn't go ride around on some pretty well-manicured dirt roads or gravel roads or something like that. Maybe if you have property, driving around on your grassy property, it can certainly handle stuff like that. But I wouldn't take it in any areas that are really more designed for a full-time 4x4 vehicle. It's just not set up for that, and I think you probably would be pretty disappointed if you do that, even though I know there are people that do. Next up is from a suspension and a wheel and tire modification standpoint. You know, there are people out there that have asked me, well, Rob, when are you going to lift it? And I did a video not too long ago about not lifting it because, frankly, number one, I just don't think it looks good lifted. Now, that's unless you go crazy. There's a couple of examples on the web you've probably seen if you're a Santa Cruz enthusiast, but it would cost a fortune to come up with a truck like that. Looks awesome, but not realistic for most people, I wouldn't think. I would say a lot of the people that have designed them that way or set them up that way probably have anywhere from 20 to 50 grand, maybe more, in modifications for those trucks. They've changed all kinds of things, panels, suspension, putting bigger tires on. You know, there's not a lot of room for the stock size that's on the truck right now. I considered that myself. I thought about doing it. And what really changed my mind, I was driving by somebody else's Santa Cruz, so I pulled off. I wanted to take a closer look at it because I could see that they had changed the wheels and tires. It was rubbing. It was obvious. There were worn spots inside on the fender wells where eventually, and unfortunately for them, the tires are going to wear right on through. It's just not set up for that. And again, given my feeling that you shouldn't lift it, not something that you can do. Doesn't mean that you couldn't put a more aggressive looking stock size tire on it if you can find them. In my bit of research, it doesn't seem like there are a lot of options out there for the size that it requires to switch from stock to something more aggressive, like maybe an all-terrain. Certainly not a mud tire. I don't think a mud tire would look good on the Santa Cruz unless it were lifted. Where it is positive is the power. It has awesome power, 0 to 60 in under 6 seconds. I mean, it's a blast to drive because of that. When you get on it, it goes. I love that. It is fun to drive. Of course, it's unique, but going back to the Santa Cruz isn't for everyone. The uniqueness of it probably falls into that category because it is so unique. It's not a truck, I think, that everybody likes. It looks different. I like it because it is different, but I know there's a lot of folks out there that when they're looking for a truck, they're looking for a truck. In other words, something that looks like a traditional truck, like a Tacoma, like a Colorado, a Frontier, you name it, even the Honda Ridgeline, which I probably would say is just a little bit more of a truck from an appearance standpoint than the Hyundai Santa Cruz is. So if that bothers you and you feel like maybe you're a poser because you're driving around in a Santa Cruz that doesn't necessarily resemble a truck, then that's probably going to bug you. Now, for those of us that like a lot of up-to-date, more futuristic looking interiors with all the tech and all that stuff, it's awesome. It has a really cool gauge cluster. You've probably seen pictures. If you're watching this video, I'm assuming that you're researching maybe getting a Santa Cruz yourself. But it has a lot of updated stuff in it. A lot of the tech in it is pretty cool. And I really like that. That's one of the things that drew me to the Santa Cruz to begin with, honestly, was the interior because of the way that it's set up. Now, one other thing I want to touch on, I mentioned about taking it on longer distance trips. The seats are not that comfortable. They kind of remind me of a Honda Civic type seat that I had a while back, a four-door. Not much padding in them. Certainly not enough to sit in it for hours and hours. If you're a long distance road warrior and you're taking those, I don't know, 10, 20-hour trips, you're going to start to get a little sore, a little fatigued sitting in those seats because there's just not enough padding where your rear end is going to be to make it comfortable. Anyway, I just wanted to get on here, kind of talk about that a little bit. It's not for everyone, the Hyundai Santa Cruz. However, if you can get over those things and maybe you don't have kids, maybe you're not taking long distance trips and you're just using it as a daily commuter or maybe an errand runner, something like that on the weekends, I highly recommend it. It's a blast to drive, gets decent gas mileage. I'm somewhere in the 24 mile per gallon, 26 mile per gallon range. So it's definitely handy for that. And I would recommend it for something like that. Anyway, leave a comment. Let me know, particularly if you have a Hyundai Santa Cruz. Do you agree with me? Or am I way off base? I'd be curious to know. Also, real quick, I do have 2 additional channels. Rob Motive JT, all about the Jeep Gladiator, currently the Mojave. And Rob Motive, all about Toyota Tacomas. Check them out, and if you're interested, why not subscribe? Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.